Hi, everybody. It's the Dead Air Horror Review Show. We watched Knife and Heart, which is a very it's a queer film. Like it's all about homosexual pornography and I guess this movie took place in the 70s, but like nothing in the movie tells you that other than the synopsis on the back of the poster.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is yeah. Um,
It's
so
supposed to be the summer of 79, I believe, in Paris.
okay. Yeah, so us two cis hetero white guys are gonna talk about this movie. And full disclosure, if there's like cultural relevance or like it's an experiential thing that like that maybe you got out of this movie, I'm gonna come out and say I didn't really get a whole lot out of this movie. Just jump out of the gate.
Okay.
Um, I guess we'll start by talking about just the general overview of what happened in this movie. It's a slasher movie. Like Chris just said, it takes place in Paris in the summer of 1978, and it's about a pornographer and her gay porn films.
Yeah, a
And
female
then
pornographer who shoots
mhm,
uh gay men.
men, yeah,
Yeah.
gay men. Um, and then there's like a slasher that shows up that's murdering her crew, and that's kind of the movie.
Hmm.
um that's like, and the I don't know, the movie the movie's like is interesting in the wrong ways in my personal opinion, because like I feel like there's parts of this movie that I think work really well, but then like the movie kind of forgets that it's a slasher movie for like 45 minutes, and then it kind of tries to tie back into it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't
There's a definite
it's
lull in the middle of the film.
the movie seems like incongruent. Like it seems like it was written by like two different people that didn't share each other's notes. Like, because also the main pornographer, like she's basically the main character, and her like story arc is really odd, and because like she's like a drunk, and she's got this on again off again girlfriend that she's clearly like abusing. Like she's not a good person. She's like obsessed over her, and she's like, verbally
Louise,
and
Louise.
at one point in the movie very graphically physically like assaulting her. And like honestly, that part of the movie, like it seemed like it was going to play more into the like whole of the film. Like maybe it was making like, maybe it would tie together into some kind of like theme about abuse or something. But then like, spoilers, I'm not, because I can't even remember 90% of the characters' names, but like the killer is just kind of like a guy.
His name's
Like
Guy.
his name's Guy,
Yeah.
French, literally spelled guy,
Yep.
G-Y, yeah. But like he's just kind of there. And like he's like a slighted, like he basically had like a gay romance, and his father like freaked out about it
Yeah. His
and tried,
father walked in on him in the barn with
yeah,
his lover,
with his lover, and he cut off his
killed.
dick.
Yep, castrated him, killed the boyfriend, then burned down the barn.
Yeah,
And Guy was able to escape.
yeah,
His lover
he's
did not.
yeah, but like you don't find that out until literally like the last, I don't know, 10 minutes of the movie.
Well, there
And
are
by
some visions
right,
um, that you see
right,
of people running around on fire, a build what appears to be a barn or a building in flames. It's in black and white. It's actually it looks like a film negative, but um,
yeah, they
it
do a lot of that.
yeah, there's some foreshadowing there.
But also like you hit the nail on the head right there. There's like visions. There's a lot of like weird, like almost surrealist moments in this movie that don't make any sense, that don't like tie into like anything. Like
Yeah.
obviously surrealist moments usually don't make sense. That's the point. But like it's not they're just kind of thrown in there at times, and it's like, like there's a guy that's got a that's turning into a bird at one point in the movie, and I was like, the fuck is this? Like what? Like that's just
Yeah.
like I don't know. Also, in the beginning of the movie, the pornographer, she's changing like the her films to kind of reflect what's really going on, and I thought that was going to play more into the movie, like the overall plot, but that doesn't either. Like
Yeah,
I
there's
didn't.
the I think the overarching like message of this film was that like she's trying to recreate in these gay porn films like actual life events that have happened to her or other
Sure.
people.
Right.
And this one movie that she had shot years prior
Right.
was,
Well, she does. That's true. She says it's an oldie. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right at the end of the movie, right?
and it's of like kind of Guy's story, the killer, and he had seen this porno, um, you know, after he had run away, after he, because no one had seen Guy for years and years and years
Yeah, they
after he ran
buried
away.
they buried him, but it was like like a, I don't know what the word would be, like a commemorative funeral. There was
Right.
no body in the casket or whatever.
So, like after years on the run, what does one do? Oh, they go to a porno theater. That's right.
Yeah,
That's where you hang out. Right in the sweet
yeah.
spot right there, at least for the movie, it makes it
But
convenient. But
like the jump from him seeing this movie to becoming a like killer, that connection's never really like established. Like,
he's
I
so
guess.
pissed that somebody made his life story, well, not his life
Oh,
story, his
that
story.
went right over my head.
Oh, that's
Um
what I got from it. That he would,
again, I would have been better off if they kind of, if maybe they didn't do this literally at the end of the movie. Like it seemed
yeah,
kind of like forced. There was like, oh yeah, we have to like give the killer some kind of resolve. Like
yeah.
I don't
He
know.
picked off everyone that appeared in that film,
That's true.
depicting his
Yes,
story,
correct. That's
but
correct. Yeah, you're right. I did not put that together. You're
and killed
absolutely
them
right.
in like really, really graphic, uh,
Oh yeah.
sexualized fashion.
Chris finally got his wish and basically got us to watch a gay porn for the. I mean, this is, I'm no prude, but like this is like very like I can't, like this is a French movie obviously, but I can't imagine them releasing something like this over here even now. I mean, I think it came out like 2018 or 2019, but like it's like very graphic, and
Yeah,
like the killer, it's a shame he only uses it twice, but at first the killer kills his victims with this dildo that a knife pops
as a
out of.
retractable, it's like a
And I
switchblade dildo. It's
and I will say that I liked the fact that later on in the film they explain why he has the dildo is there because he doesn't have a dick anymore because his dick's gone. So it is that little twist is
yeah.
kind of a fun wrinkle for like a psychopath to have. But there's like he kills him with this bladed dildo, and at one point you are literally shown like a fucking full on like blow job that he
Mm-hmm.
just, he flips the switch and stabs him through the head. But before that, it's just the guy sucking a
Yeah.
dildo. And I mean, whatever. I'm no prude, but it's just like, oh, okay, like this is where, and it's like, and again, this is in the 70s. This is the sleazy like porno 70s. So like, the scene we were talking about a few minutes ago where they're in the theater, like they're literally just jacking off in the fucking like it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
it's a lot to take in. It was like it was a lot. Um
Now this was just when I originally read the description of this movie, I was like, oh,
mhm.
this seems like it could be really, really interesting. And it got me at on Shutter, it was described like as a modern giallo, like an ode to like
I
these
could see
Italian
that.
filmmakers.
Yeah, I could see
That's what I
that.
was going to ask you because I'm no giallo expert. Did you see some
I
similarities
mean,
there? And if there was,
the
were they good?
no, I mean the biggest one is the Giallo is there's always like a masked, usually masked killer, but he always has black gloves and a knife. That's a
Mhm.
popular one. They use a lot of color washes and stuff, and there was that in this. Actually, some of the most effective scenes I thought were like right in the beginning when they're in that like sex club. Like
Mhm.
I thought that was shot really well, and it looked really cool and moody. This movie reminded, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a William Friedkin Al Pacino movie called Cruisin', which is awesome. It's a great movie. But like that movie is about And it's slightly problematic, mainly due to the time frame, but or the time it was made. But it's a movie about a gay serial killer that's killing gay people in New York City in the 70s. And then Al Pacino has to go undercover in the gay bars to find the serial killer. And famously, like you can go watch it, but famously, like William Friedkin didn't have final cut, and apparently they cut like an hour out of the movie. So like even like the like director's cut that you can watch now still doesn't have like all of the footage. And I really like the movie, like I like it a lot. I want to say we reviewed it on movie the podcast, but it's a movie that's like dripping with like tension, and like it's also the same way this movie does. It's very graphic, but it's also like I don't know, you're getting to kind of see a world you don't usually see. Like I think it's interesting because I couldn't help but think a lot about that movie while watching this movie, because I feel like that movie is kind of what this movie is trying to do, but like the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I feel like the biggest problem I had with this movie is like it felt like rudderless. Like there was like big chunks of this movie where like I was like, what do we do? Like there's just scenes that just go nowhere. There's a lot of like dialogue scenes between characters that really don't matter. And like I don't it just seemed like you had like a premise and an ending, but they didn't know what to do in the middle. So it just feels kind of like meandering. Like from like I thought the intro was great. I mean, I thought like
Yeah,
the first scene, like the open was great. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
I was
But then like
watched the open with my wife,
oh,
and
I was gonna ask. I hope you didn't watch this with your fucking kids, because
well, let me tell you, I watched the open, and
not because
I,
they're gay, by the way. Jesus Christ,
no,
don't take any. It's because it's like
graphic
so
sexual
sexual.
violence. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Lest
I
anyone think
after
that I'm like a weird homophobe. No, not at all.
after that open, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go upstairs and watch this. And
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah. Oh
okay,
yeah, because the first kill, he ties he ties this very pretty boy to a bed by like all four posts, and then is about to fuck him, and then fucks him with the dildo,
yeah,
the razor blade dildo.
yeah.
A la you get to see the scene in Seven that you only heard about, so lucky us.
And I know TJ, you love being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah,
That
oh yeah,
did that
yeah.
check that mark right there?
Oh, absolutely. Like that's why the beginning sets itself up so well, because I'm like in. Like I was like, okay, this
Yeah.
is fucking it's gritty, it's fucking violent. Like I liked the use of like music, and like I also liked how they introduced the killer, because the killer's got kind of this weird like Ned Flanders gimp mask thing going on, and it's like that's kind of fucking weird, but
And
like,
the
you
noises he
know,
made. Did you hear
yeah,
it? Like it was
yeah. Well, I figured like
so
there's something wrong
creepy.
with his throat, right? Because he
Yeah.
got burned alive or whatever. But I enjoyed like I enjoyed the like how hardcore it was like right off the bat, right? Like, and I thought that, as ridiculous as his outfit looked, like, they're in the like a hardcore sex club, so it's like the kink thing works. And like
Mhm.
again, this is the show where I talk about other movies. Like, a favorite of mine is a little movie called Irreversible. That movie also starts in a very dingy kink club, and like that fucking intro to that movie is incredibly brutal. But it starts out, I mean, it puts you in the mindset of like, okay, this is what it is. And if it was somehow able to keep that pace through the whole movie, I would have been in. But like it just doesn't know what to do when it's not killing people. Like it doesn't. And there's like a few parts, like especially like there's a scene towards the middle of the movie where they're like wrapping shooting, and they're having a picnic, and then like just one of the actors gets isolated and killed. But
Mhm.
like all they do to show, or all they do to show this, is they just like spin the camera around a lot, and then the killer's just kind of there, and it's like, well, they were in a park, like what? It's like I don't, there's just a lot of stuff like that where it's just like, what were you going for? And also, I mean, I don't know about you, but I felt like through a certain through most of this movie, I thought they were trying to like build up a mystery as to like who the killer was. Like maybe it was it was the director, maybe it was somebody, you know what I mean? It could have
Mhm.
been anybody, and then like their ultimate resolution's like, oh, okay.
I
Um,
I think I could envision the director of this movie like going through different giallo horrors from the masters like
oh
Argento
yeah.
and De Palma and being like, all right, I'm going to take that shot. I'm going to use this shot. I'm going to use that shot, like the spinning shot, the 360 one that you
Hmm.
described, the whip pan. Um, I could definitely, and I know I've seen that before,
It just
and
doesn't
it's
work.
kind of,
It's just
yeah,
kind of there. Also,
yeah,
like the whole like I don't know, you could have like have them be at a restaurant or something. Like them being outside makes that whole scene even weirder because like they're having a picnic, then all of a sudden like a hurricane hits and they're like then they get separated and it's like, well, they were like 10 feet apart. Like how did they it's not like
yeah.
they were in the middle of the fucking woods, they were in a park, and it's like all of a sudden he's like he can't find the guy that gets murdered, he can't find his butt. Well, I don't know, I don't, this is a different time. I don't know if they identified how they identified back then. So
But
all
couldn't
with
you
all due
imagine
respect,
like this same like let's say this movie was actually made in the 70s, would you
it
have
would have
it?
been better.
Yeah, why
Well,
why
yeah,
so?
and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people look at like I'll use you brought up Argento. I'll use him as an example. I love Dario Argento, and I famously have gotten a lot of flack for this, but I love Suspiria. It's a great movie. It's one of his best movies. I think
You
the
get flack
remake
for
is
that?
no. I get remake because I think that the remake is a superior film, and
I see. Okay.
it's because like as much as I love uh not only Argento but like just Italian horror in general, there's a lot of jank to those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of like kind of weird parts that don't quite work. And like it gets away with that because you're kind of used to that 70s jank. Like and I don't know like if this movie's
They were
intentionally
all
trying to
stoned and coked out of their minds.
well, it's just it though. Like you kind of like overlook it or you forget about it. But like in a movie like this, and I don't know if they were intentionally trying to make it like kind of janky and off, but it doesn't seem like they are. And if you're like how am I trying to say this? Like in the 70s when Argento did it, like he wasn't doing it with any intentionality. Like that's just how he made a movie. Like nowadays, or when they made this movie, they were directly influenced by that jankiness. So purposely trying to make your movie janky is kind of a
Yeah.
weird thing to me.
It
It's
it
not
seems
genuine and it doesn't
unauthentic.
work. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Um, that and like you bring up a good point. Like a lot of those movies too, like not the greatest written things in the world. You know what I mean? They kind of live off like the atmosphere and the way it's shot and a lot of like memorable scenes. But like the plot, the acting and the dialogue generally not that great. And this movie kind of has that going on too. Now again, is that a choice or is that just something where like it's written kind of shitty? Like I don't know. Like um, I did like Archie, the guy right behind you. He was my favorite character.
Archie
I don't
and
know.
Vanessa Paradis,
Uh,
super
yeah,
famous French actress.
is she? I had literally. She looked very familiar, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I did not know of her work.
Yeah.
But
Um,
the guy
yeah,
that
he
plays
was really good.
Archibald, the guy that plays
I think.
Archie is excellent. He's probably the best part of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted more of his character. I was kind of hoping he would be more of like a mainstay because like, honestly, the director her character did like nothing for me like at all. Like her personality traits is that she's an abusive alcoholic and it's just
I
like
was just about
okay.
to say that this, I feel like we've had these conversations before where you want to feel for the protagonist and
Yeah, but like
she's just not likable
yeah, she just sucks and
again.
she seems
Yeah.
like again she seems like a weird like exploitative person. Like and I mean that's in her private life and in her professional life. Like I don't really and by the end of the movie, like she's crying because her lover got murdered, but like there's no like catharsis for that. Like it's not like wow, like because really she didn't have anything to do with it either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like ultimately, like she made a movie that inspired someone to kill people, but like that's not the point of the movie. You know, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's where like I feel like this movie is very misguided because I don't understand what it's trying to go for half the time. Like, yeah, it's kind of a giallo and it's a slasher or whatever, but like, and it involves like pornography, but it doesn't really have anything to say about either one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it also doesn't have anything to say about like I thought maybe, I mean, I guess you can kind of take this from the killer's origin, but I thought maybe it was going to have some kind of acceptance thing because like the police aren't fucking really, they go over the police several times and the police don't give a fuck. And like obviously like people look down on people like in the pornography business. I assume it's the same in Paris as it is in America. And you know, I don't know the social climate in the 70s of how gay people are accepted but I imagine probably not great like in America.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a movie about that either. Like I thought, you know what I mean? Like it's not really, it's not a movie about anything. Like I don't know. I like when the credits rolled, I was like, well, what, why was that? Not what was that, why was that? Like, what were you trying to tell me? And I'm not saying everything's got to be a fucking message movie. You know, like I love the movie Turbo Kid, and it's just a fun movie that's about a robot and a boy that gets power armor. Like, there's
Yeah.
no message in that film. I love it, but like this movie seems to be full of themes. So like when you stuff something that full of themes, especially like hot button themes, I feel like it needs to be about something. And again, full disclosure, and I always will default to this. Lord knows I'm not the fucking smartest guy in the world. Maybe there was, and it just flew over my head. I will again. There is a definite, you know, a lived experience that could be played into this movie that I can't recognize because that's not, you know what I mean, like that's not my life. So
Yeah.
maybe somebody that maybe was either alive in that era or alive now and kind of dealing with like their own things, like maybe there's something more that they connect to in the plot. I don't know. I
I
can
could see
only tell
this,
you.
yeah, being the art house film that it is, having several different layers of meaning,
Well, I
and
mean, I go back
most
to
of
that
them,
fucking,
if not all of them, went right over my head.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, I go back to that scene where that guy's like a bird. Like, what the fuck was that?
I know that bird, the whole bird thread that just kind of weaves its way through the movie. To me, that was just pointless.
It was so and it took up
Yeah,
so much time. It
yeah,
took it felt like it took fucking forever. And it
yeah.
was like, what the fuck is this? And then it's like, oh, he's got a genetic mutation. He's gonna turn into a bird. Like, oh, you're just gonna throw that out there, huh? People just turn into birds. And folks, if you haven't watched this movie, a literal like guy with like
A
Big
bird
Bird's
claw.
hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And nothing like that happens in the rest of the movie. Like it's not like I thought they were gonna say the killer has like fucking supernatural powers or something because the bird is always with the killer
yeah.
in the, yeah. So he also makes kind of bird sounds.
And she was
Um,
very cool and relaxed about having that dude's bird claw right on her shoulder.
she
And he
didn't.
was
She
very
no
forward
sold
with
that.
it too.
Yeah, she no sold that like hard. That was pretty crazy. And I thought she like I thought maybe that was gonna be a dream because there's also a lot of dream sequences in this movie that's kind of fucking irritating.
Dream
But yeah,
sequences, whether in movies or television, are cheap. It's a cheap
yeah,
way out. And
it's
I
annoying.
fucking hate it. And I
You put them
wish
in your mood.
yeah, they would
Yeah,
outlaw
it's
dream sequences. They're the
there's
worst.
ways
Absolute
there's
worst.
ways there's ways to do them correctly, but like yeah, most of the time it just doesn't fucking work. Especially in this movie. Like again, but I it goes back to the same thing. Like I feel like this movie just is a collection of scenes with nothing holding them together, right? Because like another thing that they did in the beginning that I kind of like is again her films are mirroring what's going on, and I thought maybe that would again like she is. It was hinting to me that she was more involved in what's going on than the audience knows, right? Like especially when they shoot the scene where she's the killer and all this stuff and it's like well you know maybe that's obviously it's a red herring that she's the actual killer, but I thought that she would be more actively involved, not passively involved. I guess in a passive capacity she is the reason the killer exists, but like not in any sort of active way, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
right.
I don't know, it's it's a frustrating movie. I feel like it needed another draft. Like somebody needed to be like, I don't know, guys. Like maybe like
Or
there's
cut out
stuff
a half
here.
hour of it. They could have done without a half hour of that movie. And I
Yeah,
thought it
oh,
would have
absolutely.
been like way better.
Yeah, I mean there is content here. It's just like it doesn't ever really come together very well. I don't know. And yeah, I mean like also and I mean I know what they're dabbling in like again this sleazy like 70s porno thing, but I think they kind of go a little too far at times. Like the scene in the porno theater is just like okay, like like I get it, like that's accurate and all, but like do we need that? Especially when like ostensibly that scene specifically about like the director and her like coming to terms with like what's going on. I mean, that's what that scene's about. So like you almost don't even need the rest of the characters jerking off everywhere. It just it makes it hard to fucking focus on like what the hell's going on. And like I don't know, like in a weird way, like and this isn't a Jalo thing. This is more just like a fucking exploitation thing. Like anytime there was like any kind of sexual content, they made sure that it went as hard as possible.
Oh yeah.
And that again, I'm no prude, and like I'd say this about any movie, but like it's like, well, what purpose does that serve? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
does that do anything? Because ultimately, I just felt like it was there just to shock people and to be shocking. Because there's no real content to what you're doing when you showing that tracking shot of her movie, and there's this again. It's kind of a fake out, but you have another Jalo thing, but you have from the perspective of the fucking glove. You know what I mean? Well, not the glove wearer, obviously, and you have the glove going through and like it like choking people and like you find out that you pan out and it's them shooting the movie, but that's like a fake out, right? But like that whole scene is like super graphic and like every scene is like super graphic. And I don't know, maybe it's just a me like I want you can have all that stuff again. I mentioned fucking Irreversible of all things, and that movie is like well beyond the pale, but to me that movie has substance. A lot of people might argue with that, but I think it does. I think that it's shocking, but it does have a lot of substance to it. And to me this is just like there's just it's like they knew they wanted the horror elements, but they didn't know how to write the non-horror elements. Like they don't really seem to have a lot of interest in like the characters or really developing the characters or like giving the audience like a through line for anybody. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. Like I definitely see your point when it comes to the sexual exploitation aspect
know.
of
Oh yeah.
of it.
Oh yeah.
But that kind of shock, it felt new to me again, and I kind of liked
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Fair.
And
Well, it worked.
it worked really, really well for me
You're
personally
not the
because
level of degenerate coomer that I am. So it's
I was just, um, the like I said, and you had mentioned before, there's a lull in the middle of the movie where you're just kind of like, okay, where is this going next? She talks to Bird Hand Boy.
bird
She goes to
hand
the
boy.
graveyard. Like it's just it kind of meanders for a while. But when they brought it back, the scenes like you had mentioned, like the porn scenes or the ones when they're at the theater, I thought the way that it was shot,
Mhm.
um, it was kind of charming because you don't. I feel like you don't really see movies like this anymore,
No,
and
that's true.
I like the fact that somebody tried it. Maybe it wasn't a like a total win, but I don't think it was a failure. And there's a couple things that I really really liked about it. A, the way it was shot, I thought it was beautiful. Like they shot it on film, and it had a
Yeah,
really
it looked.
cool look
Yeah,
to it.
it definitely had a very again. If they're going for that '70s look, it definitely had that. Yeah, 100%.
And the soundtrack, which I'm not a huge M83 fan. Like I listen to his stuff now and again, but I thought he nailed the music on this. It sounded really, really
I didn't
good.
realize it was M83. Yeah, well, it
Yeah,
was good. Yeah, I liked it.
like I would buy that soundtrack in a heartbeat. Um, and yeah, the violence. I don't know. Maybe I'm like it just depraved for this, but some of it was so outlandish. It was funny.
Oh
Um,
yeah, 100%.
just like, I mean, that's probably why it was best for me to go and isolate myself to watch it.
Yeah. As you laugh at these horrible murders, your wife is like, "What the fuck,
Yeah,
dude?"
so my wife doesn't think about leaving me. Um, and yeah, it was just, but you're right. For all the things that you mentioned that were wrong with it, I totally agree and wish that they, just like you always say, just write a second draft.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
or take it to somebody else and be like, "Hey, can you
Get some
read
fresh
this? What do you
eyes.
think of?" Yeah, yeah,
Um, so we have about 5 minutes left. Maybe we should do scores now. What do you think?
yeah. Scores are good.
All right.
You can go. You
So
go ahead.
me?
Yeah,
Okay.
you.
I would give it a solid 7.3.
Wow, it's very high.
I liked it more than I disliked it.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I would watch it again immediately, but I think I should watch it again just to like absorb
You might
like
pick up
some of
more
this.
upon a second viewing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of things I missed, or maybe I was distracted. Maybe I didn't miss it, and this
See, I feel
worse than
like
I thought.
you didn't miss it. It's just not there. But yeah,
Okay.
I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
So yeah, I'm landing on a 7.3. How about
Fair.
you?
It's like a 5.5 for me. I didn't really care for it very much, but it's not without its like good parts. Like I said, I also liked how it was shot. I thought the music was good.
Mhm.
Um, and the murder scenes are done pretty well overall. Like I liked the when they got into the like the gritty dark stuff, like the vibes and like the overall tonality of it was great. Like I my complaint is I want more of it. And again, like my biggest problem is when it gets away from that stuff, like I lose my eyes glaze over and I totally lose interest in the movie. Like I don't know like any like I don't care about any of these characters and like I did the story they try to sew with it being like a murder mystery tied to birds and like it's just it's too much and like it doesn't it's very like it seems very contrived like the if you look if you know if you did like a story beat to story beat it's not like a yes and kind of story it's like this happens then this like it's like okay well like at any point like well why is this happening I have no idea you know what I mean and but yeah it's just kind of middle of the road like I don't think it's horrible but I didn't get much out of it so
Well,
5.5.
5.5, which, as you had mentioned before, is possibly the worst score. It's worse than a one
Yeah
because
because
it's
I'll
one of
never
these that
yeah
you're not gonna
yeah
remember.
I didn't hate it but it's just gonna kind of fade away.
Yeah.
I could not remember. I almost forgot that. I also is it knife heart or knife plus heart
Knife
knife and heart? How am I supposed to
knife
say this
plus
title?
heart. They didn't finish the equation. Knife plus heart
Yeah,
equals what?
because the title is literally knife plus heart. So is it knife
Yeah.
and heart? Like it's that's annoying. That's a fucking annoying title.
This one I would
Um,
not probably recommend. It doesn't sound like you would either. Uh,
no, I wouldn't recommend it. Again, like if you're, I don't know when next June comes around and you're you know Pride or whatever, and you got to get like queer focused movies. This isn't the worst thing to watch. I mean, I'll give it that too. Like it's nice that like the entire cast is you know queer people. That's cool. Like I don't know if the writer director is as well, but like I that alone is like interesting. It's always nice to see movies from like other kind of lifestyle perspectives and stuff.
mhm.
Now, again, it's just the same problem with cruising, right? Like it it's not charitable because it makes all these I now actually take it back. I was gonna say because it makes them all look like perverts, but like these even the like Archie and like they look at the porno stuff as a job. So it's not like they don't seem like devious people. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
just seem like people with an unusual job. But yeah, I don't know. It might be worth a rewatch. Maybe I'll feel differently, but yeah, it
I
just
know
didn't do
what.
much for me.
TJ will never take my suggestions ever again after watching this.
No, not at all. What do I know? They can't all be a bloody bodybuilder in hell. I mean,
I know. Can we find another one of those?
oh, I can find one. I'm
All
sure
right.
there's I know there's plenty of them. I don't know why I said I think there's. I know for a fact there's plenty of them. I've seen a bunch.
All right, we got less than a
I think
minute.
that's the show though. So
That's it.
yeah, that's it. That's the show. So you guys have fun and go to your fucking European dance parties and your Gimp masks and your
And doot doot loot doot.
do
There you go.
do.